Hello, and welcome back to Gyaff with G.O.L.D.R.U.S.H.
Welcome back.
This is Sherida. I'm one of your hosts, and
this is Afia, the other host of Gyaff with G.O.L.D.R.U.S.H.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome
back. It's summertime here, and it's getting hot. And we are looking forward to some of the holidays that we have planned for ourselves this summer. One of which includes visiting Guyana.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm. We're actually going for a wedding, but outside of the wedding, we have our own plans and own excursions that we plan to do. And if we didn't make this clear before, Afia and I are actually sisters. So we'll be touring and doing different things together.
Yeah, touring as adults, as we'll talk more in this episode. I'm really looking forward to, the trip coming up, going to Guyana, because it's going to be very different, seeing more of Guyana from an adult point of view. Now that we have a little bit more of an opportunity to, see the new things that are, around.
Agreed. And so on the topic of summers in Guyana, we will be including some of the perspectives of you guys, our listeners, into this episode. So as you guys know, Gyaff with G.O.L.D.R.U.S.H. is a G.O.L.D.R.U.S.H. Association podcast. And that G.O.L.D.R.U.S.H. stands for Guyana's Overseas and Local Descendants, Leveraging Resources and Unity for a Successful Homeland. So in the theme of gold, you'll find that a lot of our episode arcs have references or puns related to gold. So we'll be introducing today an episode arc that we call Gold Scale. And I'm going to give it to Afia to discuss what that gold scale is. It's really cool. So go ahead, Afia.
Yeah. So just as a gold scale carefully weighs and measures the value of precious metal, in this series, Gold Scale, or G.O.L.D., the acronym scale, we weigh and we compare the diverse range of perspectives and beliefs held by Guyanese people. And this is because, much like the differences that can be found in pieces of gold found in the same deposits or areas, a community of people with a shared culture, the Guyanese culture, and history also can have differences.
Yeah. And so Gold Scale episodes and episode arcs will strive to present opinions and viewpoints and experiences that all hold weight and contribute to the overall balance and complexity of these discussions. And by fostering an environment where all voices are heard and respected, and recognizing the value of each opinion, like the inherent value of gold, we can foster constructive dialogue that enriches our understanding and guides us towards a more informed and inclusive community.
Yeah, so just as the value of gold is often determined by its purity, the true worth of opinions lie in their sincerity, authenticity, and the supporting evidence of experiences behind them. So
yeah, she said that in a really pretty and packaged way. But what we're really saying is that a lot of the things that you'll hear from this podcast are anecdotes. These are people's experiences. So there isn't really a right or wrong way to experience something. These are just these people's opinions. And we want to emphasize the fact that these discussions are supposed to be respectful. And we would like in your comments and your feedback that you be respectful of people's opinions. So today's topic is going to be about summertime. It's a very light episode, or a very lighthearted topic. So let's get into it. But before we do that, I do want to put out a reminder that if you would like to be featured in an episode, we do accept voice notes. You can email them to us or send them to us on our social media. All of our social media can be found at the same @name, @G.O.L.D.R.U.S.H.GY, and we'll be happy to review them and feature them in these episodes, because you guys are just as much a part of this podcast as we are.
Yeah, and again, your opinions, your words, your stories, they're valued just like gold in Guyana.
Agreed. So hit us up, all social media platforms, type it out. We'll be happy to read them off as well. Mm-hmm. So now let's get into it, Afia. So
let's get into it. All right, so we do have, a couple stories of being a child in Guyana, because while we were younger, our parents made sure that we would go. So, Sherida, if you want to go into that.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, the anticipation of going to Guyana was so much that it consumed me. So it was like clockwork. School time ends in the States, say in June 10th. If we knew that school was going to end on June 10th, we would be in Guyana on June 11th. And that week leading up to us leaving looked like packing away everything, making sure that we had all of our bug sprays, all of our summer clothes, all of our coloring books, skipping ropes, all that stuff that we wanted to share with our friends who were living in Guyana still. In addition to our own suitcases with our own belongings, our mom made sure to pack things for us to give away to the people in our community. So it was a really exciting experience to be able to go and return back to our home, but also to be able to share gifts with the people around us and the people that we loved in our village. What about you, Afia? What did you most anticipate leading up to going to Guyana as a child?
So what I would most anticipate is honestly just being outside in the fresh air,
She has allergies, y'all.
So it's just something about that Guyana breeze and just the air, just being, in the village, and whether you're hanging with family or friends, it's just, you feel good. Your body feels good. No matter how hot it gets in Guyana, we're still enjoying every second of being outside, and I knew that when I was in Guyana, I was going to be, I was going to be entertained, whether that's, by the family. We would love to make jokes, helping my grandmother cook, being with family, friends. And, I knew that we were going to be outside, really outside.
Literally and figuratively. we were outside.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had an amazing childhood growing up there and just visiting for months and months at a time. It felt like, I believe that we may have spent our entire summers there.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned before in an example, if school ended June 10th, we were in Guyana on June 11th. If school started back September 5th, we were coming back to the States on September 4th.
No, yeah. Really.
So we had an amazing summer experience there. What would you say is your favorite summer memory or holiday memory as a child in Guyana?
Mm-hmm. And by the way, everyone, when we're saying summer, we mean, after school closes and, you're on a holiday. That's what we mean by summer. We know Guyana's hot all the time. So we're not saying like summer, like in terms of weather, but we mean summer, like, you're on your break off from school. Yeah. But for me, I would say one of my, fondest memories, childhood memories in the summer being in Guyana was going to the sea. We would go to the sea with our family friends. And it was kind of like tradition in a way. Every time we went back to Guyana, we would make sure that we met up with our cousin, and it was a couple of us, a couple of our friends who would all go. We would just walk to the sea, and Sherida will tell you it's a trek. It is a trek. Yeah. And it's like going through the bush, like
describe it.
If you're Guyanese and you know what the bush is, you know what the bush is. But it was a trek,
She's being a little bit dramatic when she says the bush, but the scenery is very, very green on the route for us to go and see the sea. But if you don't know what the bush is usually language to describe like being in the Amazon or something like that. But go ahead.
Yeah. When I tell you, just seeing the vast greenery when you're just walking past and you see how far the houses are, and you got the palm trees around, and the breeze is just so fresh. Just walking through there, it felt good, like you weren't even thinking about how long the trip is. I can't even tell you how long the trip was, because we were just enjoying ourselves. We're talking, sharing stories and everything, playing around on our way snacks, to the sea. Yeah.
Different sweetie and stuff like that. I agree. Like the scenery is so green. Picture coconut trees everywhere, untouched landscape, cows grazing, horses sometimes in the distance.
Yeah.
Like just beautiful green, untouched scenery. And that was our landscape to going and visit the sea.
Yeah. And like when we finally get there, we relax on, some of the big rocks that are right there by the edge of the sea. We didn't really go in, but, we make sure, put our feet in, we walk in, make sure we take pictures and everything. Like we still have a really, notable picture in our grandmother's house of, our cousins and our family friends and stuff. And that picture will always, stay with me, because it reminded us of how often we would go to the sea every summer.
Every summer.
And I would look forward to that.
And in hindsight, I actually do believe that the trip to go there, because it's not an official pathway and you kind of are like moving through like plants and other greenery. But I do believe that the whole round trip is about an hour long, Afia. So, but it never felt like that because we were enjoying ourselves. And I think it was because of the sense of community with all of our friends who were joining us and our family who was walking with us to go and see the sea, to go and, bathe in the sea. And of course, along the way, Guyana is the land of many waters. So there's creeks everywhere. And, you can find, we would often see kids bathing or swimming inside the creeks, and even swimming inside the ocean sometimes. But I can't swim. So you wouldn't really catch me full body in the ocean. And I do have one memory of falling in there and
I think it was a crab that latched onto you. I think it was latched onto your toe or something.
Or something like that. And I fell and I had to hold on to a stick for dear life. I was screaming. My cousin had to come and collect me out of that water because I almost got pulled away by the sea. That's how it felt though. I couldn't have been more than like maybe 10. I was probably 10 years old or something like that. But yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely a time, and we would probably come back a little bit before the sun went down. And, I just remember we walking past and we walk back through the shortcut through our auntie's house, picking guinea from the tree, right? Yeah, and then just going back to our grandmother's house. And, she didn't have to worry about us because we were gone for most of the day. And then we have a good plate of food waiting for us when we got there.
Good, nice
after we bathed, of course, but... we had a good big plate of food waiting for us.
Yeah. And I would like to emphasize the thing that Afia just said, that our grandmother and none of our family had to really worry about where we were as children growing up in Guyana, because to be honest, it's such a safe community. Our village was such a safe place to be. We didn't have cell phones like that back in the day, and we certainly didn't have signal. But we were gone for hours and hours at a time and just connecting with the people in our community, connecting with the other children, because children, it doesn't matter to them if you're living overseas or not. If they see someone to play with or someone to engage with, they are happy, more than happy to share their toys and their snacks and their sweeties to just have some fun. So we had an amazing childhood experience growing up in Guyana.
Yeah, and I was just remembering how we would make our own kites before we, had the kites that we would ship from America over. We were using plastic bags, and we had like little rope that we would tie onto the bags, and we're just running with it. And how the bag would fill with air, that was our kite. But then, we finally brought some actual kites, and we would have fun with those as well. But, being in Guyana, we were more creative.
Yeah.
If
we definitely didn't develop the kite making skill, because in Guyana, kite making is a huge thing, especially around Easter time.
Yeah.
Afia and I were never good at making these kites. So that plastic bag and that string had to do, but we had a blast. And it's just amazing when you think about like how innovative children can be when they have to come up with their own toys.
Yeah, because even sometimes I would see, if you remember, they'd use like the Ovaltine cans, and then they would, hook a rope to that and just drag it and run around, because it would kind of like knock on the rocks and, things like that. And I remember putting like a bottle in between like the spokes of the bicycle, and it sounds like a motorbike.
Yeah. So we want to acknowledge that the diaspora is made up of people, of so many different people who were born in Guyana and moved as soon as they were born, people who grew up in Guyana and moved so they know about these childhood experiences, and even some people who've never been to Guyana, but they've heard these stories from their families. As much as Afia is talking about like a tin can and a water bottle, and these things don't sound like a traditional toy, these toys were a blast. And we had so much fun coming up with these things to play with and just running around with our friends. And I think it really does speak to how innovative and resourceful Guyanese people are, even as children.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure, to our listeners who are in Guyana, I'm sure you guys have even more stories about the things that you've either built or the things that you were used to playing with. Because when you're in Guyana, especially when you're in the country village, you'll make sure that you're resourceful, right? So anything, whether we're playing hide and seek or we're just imagining things, like we still had so much fun, like even more fun than we were when we were in the States.
I agree. And I think that nowadays, although the villages are developing and our village is also developing and children do have access to internet and different types of toys, there is still that spirit of resourcefulness and just creativity that you will see kids still playing with those same toys that we're playing with and just enjoying the environment outside, enjoying their friends, running around. And I love that. I love seeing that because it's such a stark difference to what you see sometimes in, cities and in other countries throughout the world.
That's true.
Yeah.
And Sherida, what do you have any favorite Guyana summer memory stories from childhood?
Yeah. So actually, one of my favorite memories, and it's going to sound like what, was when there was a blackout.
Had a lot of those.
Shout out to GPL. But yeah, whenever there was a blackout, we would always sit on the back steps with our grandmother and our friends and be telling different moonlight stories. And we will be discussing moonlight stories and long time stories later in different episodes. But we had such a blast sitting in the darkness, using kerosene lamps. And for those of you that don't know, kerosene lamps are lamps that are powered using kerosene gas. And that was how we saw in the darkness, or we were using a torchlight or a flashlight to see. And we would sit on the steps and just laugh and tell so many different stories and scary stories, funny stories, just recount the fun that we had during the day. And it made a situation where being in the dark in the country where, maybe there aren't as many street lights, it made what would be a scary situation like being in a blackout so much fun and such a community event.
But the mosquitoes were not fun.
Yeah, the mosquitoes were
especially
not fun,
in the dark,
especially in Berbice. So yes, we were fighting for our life against them mosquitoes, but
Berbice and mosquitoes, a different breed
entirely. Yes. So I think it's right about time for us to start working on this gold scale. So let's welcome in some listeners of this podcast as they reflect on their experiences of holidays and summertime in Guyana in their childhood. Let's take a listen.
Hi. At the time when I was going to school, we had no television. So you listen to the radio, you read a lot, and, you draw, use your imagination. We visited family members and, older people. It's fun to visit them and, sit with them and you talk with them and they would tell you different little stories about their life and all of that. And you always show respect. Like when I pass, I would say, hi, hi, auntie this, hi, uncle that, and everybody look out for me, People were so good back in the days, I had my best friend Felicia. So, we did a lot of adventurous things together. And we would go playing on the swing, go to movies and all of that. And it was fun and I look forward to it.
My favorite memory from growing up in Guyana, I guess I would have to say just the freedoms that we were afforded as children, having grown up in Guyana and here. Because when we're here, it's all about school. You can't really just go outside, run around. Of course you can, but within restraint. In Guyana, we had free roam of the land. We literally woke up in the morning, got dressed, brushed our teeth, got dressed, had breakfast, and then we were gone. Like, our parents had no idea where we were because someone was always watching us. But at the same time, we were just outside, literally just outside, having a blast being children, fishing, running around, creating make-believe games. I think that was my favorite part of my childhood, being in Guyana.
In Guyana, my favorite memory growing up was in 2007, going to Mashamani. And that was my first and only time going because it always happened during like March or February in the middle of the school year. But we went, had the time of our lives. I was there with my cousins who actually lived there at the time. And we turned up. Playing in the mosh, jumping on the trucks, dancing, whining, having a grand old time. It was amazing. And also during that time, it was also a wedding, an Indian wedding. So we turned up there, ate outside the leaf. Very, very, very traditional Indian family. It was so fun.
So just a little about me. I grew up in Guyana. I left when I was about 9. My summer times when I was a child really consisted of family, That's what it was always centered around. So I lived in Georgetown with my mom, my 3 sisters, grandma, aunt, and uncle. But in the summers, we would try to have fun. I would maybe go see my dad in Barbados one summer, but mostly I would go to Linden to see his side of the family. And that's when I really had fun as a kid and like really made a lot of memories, because it's a bunch of cousins that I have there. So I had a lot of cousins. We would have a lot of fun, just do regular kid stuff, dumb stuff. And that was really what my summers consisted of.
All right. So, love hearing the stories from childhood, but now we're going to segue into more of adulthood. So Sherida, please, share with us how your experience was the first time you had to, go to Guyana as an adult.
Yeah. So as a child, obviously your parents are the ones who are, paying and for your trips and your holiday. My parents are the ones who bought my tickets to go to Guyana. And I remember the first time that I asked my dad if we were going to Guyana this summer. And he said, buy your own ticket. And how that rocked my world. It was like the biggest slap to my face. I tell you, I was in shock. And that was like the jarring moment that, wow, you're not a kid anymore. And, by then, a lot of my childhood friends were getting married and having children and starting families of their own and even, moving from our village. So it really changed the perspective of what a holiday in Guyana would look like for me. I'm not going to be running around with these plastic bag kites anymore. I'm not going to be, making my own toys. What is it going to be like when I go to Guyana as an adult? And that first trip back where I had to buy my own ticket was still an amazing experience. And I remember at the time it was Independence Day and I got to see the masqueraders, going down the St. John Road and going along the parade route. And it was so amazing seeing their mask costumes and the feathers and all the beautiful Guyana flags everywhere and the music. It was such an amazing experience, such an amazing community experience, and seeing how excited people were for Independence Day. It was so cool to see other youth come out and watch the parade route.
Yeah, everybody was so involved, everyone's dancing and, all the colors, the bright colors, the costumes that everyone was wearing. It was just so amazing to see because, that's really one of the highlights of, going back to Guyana and just seeing, basically them put on a show. Yeah.
But Afia, what about your perspective? What was one of your most fun experiences of holiday in Guyana as an adult?
As an adult, I would say that the most recent time actually, just being able to go out. Sherida and I were pretty much outside, to say the least. It was very nice to get like more of an adult perspective because I remember Sherida and I, whenever we would get onto the minibus and just having that freedom to be able to determine our destination. And that's definitely like more of an adult thing to do because we're so used to our parents or our family members, we're getting onto the minibus and we don't even look too much to see like where we're headed. We just get off when they get off. We take note of where we are, but, we're not looking around too much. We just know that, we're going with our family. But, this most recent time, we went to the Marriott. We got food there. Just walking around Guyana, with more of an adult lens, shall we say.
And more sovereignty and ability to decide what we wanted to do and what we're going to get into. And also for anyone who doesn't know what a minibus is pretty much like one of the main forms of public transportation in Guyana. I think they hold about 14 to 16 passengers each in the bus. And these buses drive all throughout the country. It's a very cheap method of transportation. For certain distances, you might only pay 100 Guyana dollars. Others, you may pay 1,000 Guyana dollars. And that is basically the range of 50 US cents to $5 US.
Yeah, so it was definitely an experience. Downtown Georgetown is very busy, especially by big market. So just trying to navigate all of that, hustle and bustle, everyone, people hustling on the side, people who are selling things and just people who are just trying to make their way back to wherever they're going, and just the long travel from Georgetown to Berbice. If you are a Berbician, you understand because finding that bus stop to go back to Berbice, it's, you know, we definitely took note of it because that was important.
Yeah. And if you've never been to Guyana, basically there are different car parks located in the big market area that people can go to take a taxi or a minibus to their respective region. So when we talk about Berbice, we're talking about, in this case, Region 5, West Coast Berbice. And with all the hustle and bustle in the area, you have to know where to find your respective car park to go back to Berbice or Essequibo, Bartica, wherever you're going. So we know that there are a spectrum of people that we have listening to the podcast. People who go back to Guyana regularly, people who go there here and there. Maybe they go every couple years with their families. And then some of you have never even gone back at all or have never visited because your parents or your family don't go or your family has moved out of Guyana. And because of that, that might pose different experiences for when you're visiting. But fortunately, the country is developing very rapidly with different tour opportunities and excursions. And so in any case, at any level of experience of visiting the country, be encouraged to reach out to these tour operators who are more than happy to show you around.
Yeah, that's true. Like I know this upcoming trip that we have going to Guyana, I'm definitely looking forward to, you know, going to Kaitro Falls.
It's the largest single drop waterfall in the world.
Yeah, in the world. And that's amazing for Guyana. And I know I do have some friends who were born in Guyana who still have never, you know, seen Kaitro Falls. So I can only imagine how it looks in person compared to, you know, the pictures and videos that I've seen. But I'm definitely very excited for that.
Yeah, the pictures are absolutely beautiful. So we know that it's going to be something to behold. And I'm so excited to see that with my own eyes. So now that we've told you about our own experiences, experiencing Guyana as both children and adults, we're going to involve some more of you guys' perspectives on what that's like.
As an adult, I would say my favorite memory, which would happen last month, was just going into town and experiencing Guyana for itself as an adult. Because as I was a kid, I was always going in little taxis and just being under my mom, being under my dad, grandparents, all that. I never really got a chance to fully explore. This time I went to Parika during the Easter, and I was able to, you know, have a great time, fly some kites, stand by the beach. It was nice. I had a big old boat in the background and music was playing. The little kids was running around, and just seeing them running around reminded me of the time when I was there for Mashamani. So it's come back complete full circle.
Going back as an adult, because I do go back pretty much every year. Going back as an adult, it's definitely a different experience. So whenever I go back now, I mostly just stay with my sisters and my mom and my grandma. And my sisters go out of their way to make sure that I have fun when I'm down there. So, for example, I was recently down there in May. I helped them throw a huge party. We had a great time while I was down there. Guyana's rapidly changing, right? So you think about differences between when I was a kid to now, like there's so many environmentally. There's so many casinos and clubs and bars and restaurants now. You're seeing innovations everywhere, which I think is great. So when I was down there, besides the party, we went to these casinos and clubs and so on and so forth. And it was good. It was good to be able to do that with my sisters. And my last night there, with my brother-in-law, we went to this really cool place, this really cool club. So as an adult now, it's definitely much more freedom as you expect. And it's like a whole new world. It's definitely not the Guyana from when I was a kid, I'll tell you that much. And I think it's changing for the better. It may be not at the pace that some of us might like, but it is changing for the better.
What I'm most excited about in terms of going back, honestly, just to be home. Because it's been so long since I've been back. Just to be home, I think, to breathe the air, just to be in the house and make new memories with my cousins. That is what I'm most excited for.
All right. We thank you for our guests who were able to share their experiences with us. And we encourage our listeners to visit Guyana, whether you visited before or whether, you know, it has been a couple years since you visited, or if you haven't visited at all. We really do encourage you to, because Guyana is beautiful. Guyana is nice, bad. So just being outside is different in Guyana compared to in America. Understand that. And, you know, just take in the environment. because we really continue to appreciate that. Just as we were kids, we continue to appreciate that as adults.
Yeah, and I think that you can see from the theme of all of our remarks related to summers and holidays in Guyana that there's a common theme of everyone just spending time outside and enjoying the community and environment around them. So definitely something you want to experience. We do know that there might be some concerns or thoughts about the fact that Guyana is a developing nation. And we want to just say that there are so many different tours and excursions popping up daily, and that ecotourism is one of our strong points. So if you're ever interested in traveling to Guyana, definitely look into one of the many tour operators. Look for their reviews. You could contact them normally through WhatsApp or by calling or emailing, and they'll respond to you very quickly. We do know that not everyone has family that's living in Guyana, but still feel encouraged to go forth and explore the country. It's a beautiful country, and you won't regret going.
Definitely not.
So we have some exciting excursions that we're going to be partaking in, feeling like tourists in our own home country, but we'll get back to you and let you guys know how that goes in our next episode. But for now, this is just a reminder that if you ever want to be featured, you can always send us a voice note via email, or you can send us your thoughts written down or typed out through our social media platforms at G.O.L.D.R.U.S.H. But for now, I don't think I have anything else to say about this summer. It's going to be an exciting
it definitely
one.
will be. And, in our next episode, we definitely will make sure to recount that. All right. And again, like Sherida was mentioning, if you guys would want to share anything with us, your opinions are as valuable as gold, Guyana gold.
Right.
So we want to hear from you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you guys so much for listening.
Yeah. We'll see you next time.
All right. We're going to Gyaff later.
All right. Later.